Okay, I see people coming in, but I do want to honor everyone's time, those of us who were here on time, and go ahead and get started. As you all know, today is a campus a town hall. So we engage around a substantive issue. And the issue today is our API Thrive grant and an update on where we are and some really good information from that team. But before we begin, we always start with our land acknowledgement. We recognize that all of us at UW Tacoma learn, live, and work on or near the ancestral homeland of the Coast Salish people. In particular, we are situated on the traditional territory of the Puyallup tribe. As people on this occupied territory, we have a responsibility to acknowledge the land, the ancestors who have cared for this land since time immemorial, and all of our indigenous connections today. We also have the responsibility to acknowledge the history of dispossession and forced removal that have allowed for the growth and survival of this institution. In light of this history, let us take active efforts to partner with our Indigenous community members and neighbors as we continue our work together as a community of learners, leaders, and educators. And I like to make it real. So for those of you who don't know, we will be hosting our Native Student Symposium, say that fast 3 times, next week. And we're very excited to welcome schools, tribal members, and community members all on the campus. And if you see Leander, he's probably running around with his hair on fire because he's in the midst of all of that planning. But we're very, very excited to have that come back and be a vibrant part of our community. So with that, I think I'm going to turn it over to Nestor. Okay, thank you.
Aloha, everyone. My name is Nestor Tupufiangara Jr., and I'm the project director for the AAPI Thrive program. And just to give a brief overview and a recap of what AAPI Thrive is, AAPI Thrive is a federally funded grant under the Minority Serving Institutions grant from the Department of Education. That grant is called ANAPISI, stands for Asian American, Native American, Asian American, Native American, Pacific Islander Serving Institutions. Sorry, very long acronym. And so UWT was one of the many schools across the nation that received this grant, and it's an amazing opportunity. And what we basically do is we try to center the experience of Asian American and Pacific Islanders in higher education. And so one of our objectives, one of our many objectives, is to kind of create a sense of belonging for our students in our campus. And so what I'd like to share with the town hall today, and thank you, the Chancellor, and also the team for allowing us for this time and space to share what we've been doing. But one of the things that we do is try to share our students' stories and what's been going on. And so this is a kind of culmination of work that's been going on for the last couple of years. And so before we show this, we would like to show this video. And before we show it, I'd like to call up Dr. Sonia De La Cruz and one of our alumni students, Quentin Matheson Howard, who give just a little overview about the film, and then we'll show it afterwards.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for the introduction. My name is Sonia De La Cruz. I'm an assistant professor in communication and media practice. And for those of you who I don't know, most of my work has centered on storytelling for social change, and particularly centered on marginalized and minoritized populations. And so when I began to engage with Nestor and Cassie and everybody who belongs to this broader project, we talked about what would be central for thinking about our AAPI student community here on campus. And it was significant to let them speak, hear them out, and get a sense of how they understand their place in our institution and what they wish for. So we will let sort of the sort of video that you're gonna watch speak for itself, and we really welcome questions and your thoughts around that. And I just have to say that the students, a lot of them too, are students that I was meeting for the first time, and it's just amazing the level of conversation and that they wanted to have, the insight and depth to their experience, which really sort of speaks to the core mission and values, I think, of our institution. And what was really wonderful is that I dragged Quentin, who is one of our newly graduates from communication. And Quentin, please introduce yourself.
Hello, everybody. My name is Quentin Matson Hayward. And just for the video, I wanted to say that this was a great opportunity to be a part of as a newly graduated student. I feel like these stories were really important and needed to be heard. So I feel like me being a part of this project was something that opened me up to a lot of different avenues of this school. So I think this was a great opportunity. Thank you.
We're good, both cameras?
Yes.
Okay, just.
There's always been Asian studies, but never Asian American studies. As a curriculum, it feels like Asians are still foreign when we are not.
With history, they always say knowing history makes us better. But why is it that we can never learn about what Asian American or Pacific Islander people went through?
There's this saying that is constantly being said is you belong here, right? If we belong here, where can we see ourselves belonging?
How are we able to belong if we don't have that curriculum represented on campus? And how is UW Tacoma going to represent me as a Samoan woman if I do not have that curriculum right in front of me to learn from?
We are here, we are definitely gonna still be here, and we were here because you were there. I identify majorly as an Asian American woman, and I am Filipina and half Japanese. So my mom's side is from all over the Philippines. They immigrated to Hawaii. My dad's side is from Japan. So they came here and unfortunately were incarcerated during World War II in Minidoka, Idaho. I learned about it at a young age. So I wasn't really conscious of the gravity of the situation, but as I grew older, I kind of realized what it meant.
You know, I think high school, for me, it was just going through the motions like, okay, this is just history. Like, I didn't have that critical consciousness at the time. And so it wasn't until I came to UW that I built that consciousness. And now it's just so unfortunate that it doesn't take until folks are now in college to realize oh yeah, the history we were taught in schools when we were younger, that is considered required, is very whitewashed, very Eurocentric.
Even though I grew up out here in Washington, when I get asked where are you from, my immediate response is oh, I'm from Guam. Even though I was born there and only lived there 6 months of my life that I don't remember. I grew up with my parents instilling our culture and traditions in us and always reminding us, yeah, we live out here, but don't ever forget where we come from.
I feel like a lot of the time it's framed as add-on, Asian American studies separate from United States history. You can't study the social sciences and the humanities without studying Asian American and Pacific Islander studies, you have an incomplete knowledge of the social sciences and humanities without those subjects.
They always asked us what's your cultural heritage? How do you identify? And I didn't really understand it when I was younger, but as I grew older, I understood that I shouldn't have to be the one to really do research. I feel like it should have been offered in school, especially when I was younger.
I feel like I was part of the whitewashing. So other than that, I started learning more about cultures again, when I was younger, but it just now brought a whole bigger picture.
I never knew about the kind of racial and cultural and colonization flows that have impacted my family. Now, many people understand is why racism still happens, why Asian hate is still happening, why Asian hate even happens, and also what kind of things kind of fall under oh, that's not actually racist until you understand the context.
There's so more people than we know identify as Asian American Pacific Islander, but a lot of us kind of carry that like embarrassment or shame and we don't want to talk about it simply because we haven't had the space to.
If I don't feel respected by this professor of what I'm coming in, then that's when I decide to move out and kind of look for a professor who will accept how I present myself in the classroom.
Having that representation really matters. One, to make it like relevant to the students that they're teaching, but also like professors' knowledges are bounded by their realities and their experiences too, you know, and you're getting an incomplete picture if you're not having professors who are from different backgrounds and across different forms of social categorization.
I took a lot of classes, especially during my freshman and sophomore year, and there was just no Pacific Islanders around me that looked like me. I didn't like to participate in any of the class discussions or class activities because I was afraid of what everyone would think of me.
These are the types of people that can help you maybe unlock a part of yourself that you didn't know that existed. They might inspire some curiosity. When you hear it from people that look like you, it's a lot easier to comprehend, to digest, right?
If we had more Pacific Islander representation within the K-12 system, a lot of Pacific Islanders would like elevate to like education and gravitate towards more of an educator who knows their culture or looks like them.
Being able not to have to always explain my culture, I think over time it became exhausting that, oh, I had these different thoughts and these different beliefs, but I don't have to explain it in a way that feels like I have to teach the teacher.
If we don't have anybody from our own community to teach us about our history, to teach us about our roots, our traditions, and to teach us to continue those roots and traditions, then we are lost as a community.
We face like so much and are still trying to progress in like fighting for the rights and welfare of like Filipinos like abroad and back home.
There are so many students who want to learn about this, who are interested, and I think it goes to show, you know, for future quarters and years to come, that integrating this is incredibly important. We have our history and we have things that we've gone through that need to be talked about, and that, you know, we're not forgotten or not to feel invisible.
Having Asian American studies here would really just bring so much joy to a lot of people, just having that conversation in the classroom. Having it in the curriculum kind of affirms that fact that, yes, we are a part of American history as much as you are a part of ours.
There's this saying that is constantly being said is, you belong here, right? If we belong here, where can we see ourselves belonging? If there's no space for us here, if there's no signifiers or signs that you have put in the effort to understand why we're coming here and why we're like trying to teach our stories, then we don't belong here.
Taking Asian American courses at UW really has made me reflect on my identity, seeing the challenges I faced, how has that connected to my family history, has helped me learn about myself, has connected me more with my family and my ancestors, and it has shown me how much power and how much resilience they went through so I could be standing here today.
Not only am I learning about Cambodian history, but I learned about other Asian American histories that I didn't know of. Learning about the generational gap between Asian Americans and how it brought with immigrating over here and dealing with adapting to America and being the new people. So it was hard to get around, it was hard to work, it was hard to do what you could without people hurting you because you're something different.
It's impacted the way I see myself and how I navigate through the world, you know, because like a lot of the classes focus on white supremacy and white privilege and how people who are really isolated from groups that don't look like them they just develop these really harsh out-group attitudes, you know, and without that exposure to diversity, you know, those thoughts can really grow out of control.
But I think it's proof that here at UWT, you know, having all these different spaces for students who identify, you know, as, you know, whatever they identify with, it creates this like place where like, oh wait, so I'm not alone.
Never be ashamed of who you are as a cultural person. That's what makes you unique. That's what makes you you. You're reshaping yourself and you're bringing your culture into that. That's important. You never know if that person that you're close to or the community that you come to on any type of institution, you never know that they might be going through the same problem as you, and they want someone to tell you. They want someone to share that story so that they'll be able to share their story.
Our narratives here in the US it consists of three things: invisibility, erasure, and exclusion. We are people in the struggle who are constantly being exploited and erased. There's something empowering about seeing your own community in the history. It means that your people, your ancestors contributed to important and monumental moments. Your people struggled so that we, the current generation, we get to taste the victory of the fruits of their labor that we have today.
There are many things I love about being Japanese Filipino, but I think the deeper one has to be learning about these histories.
I like talking about food. You're always talking over food, and it's just like, all right, you get a group of friends together, what are we gonna eat? You know, that's the first question.
I honestly love how much family I have, how much support I have.
There's a sense that like you're always there for each other, you know, like how much they emphasize being open to new things.
What I love is just a sense of community that like us Simoners bring together, and humor. Like time goes by fast when we're just laughing.
As a culture, we are definitely very caring to a lot of people. We always want to do a lot for the community.
I really just love like just how close-knit we are. I always know that no matter where I turn, there's someone to lean on.
I love how respectful we are.
I really love how I've grown to be more proud of who I am.
I take pride in like my struggle with my people, but also like celebrating the joy and how much we've contributed to monumental moments.
I love the prideness. I have enough room in my life to accept whoever wants to know about me as an individual and about my culture.
Get connected with other Pacific Islanders, because that's something that really helped me, especially moving from an island to America.
When you go to school, it's just you against the entire, like, you know, student population, and you have no idea what it's that like.
And what their families went through, and families getting torn, families going through war, like it deserves to be heard.
He always says like, you know, we're the forgotten colony, or we're the invisible citizens.
Yeah, and so thank you for watching. This is like, I guess, our first public unveiling of this film, and we hope to show it to the broader Onapesis across the nations as well. And I think one of the things that we wanted to showcase is just like, these are the stories of our UW-Tacoma students, and, you know, and we value them, and that we value them here, and we want to make sure that they are heard. And with that, I just want to open the floor if there's like maybe one or two questions about the video, and then myself and also Sonia, Dr. Sonia de la Cruz can help answer any questions too. And just a shout out, some of our cohorts and students are here in the room, right there. And they've been super supportive and super vocal and, you know, super willingness to share their stories with us. And I think that's an ongoing thing that we hope to continue, is to collect these stories and to share them with the campus and with other Onapesis schools.
If there's any questions, I will bring the microphone to you.
Awesome. No questions. You can find me at, oh, yeah, one more? There we go. Go ahead.
I guess being one of the people in the video,
what over time, like since this happened last year, from like a 1 year perspective, like difference, what have you seen? Like, what are the changes you've seen within like the past cohort? Like, because I know you're also connected with them now. What are the changes you've currently seen? Like, has there been any improvement in that, sense of belonging, and anything of the sort?
I think, at least from my perspective, I think comparing the previous cohort and now the cohort, and this cohort, I think there's been more talk about the program. I feel like every time when we were recruiting for students, some students already knew about our API therapy program, which is a very, very positive thing. And so I think as we're building this program and going further along, I'm hoping that more students will hear about the impact about our program and start to share it. Because I think for a lot of Asian Americans and Pacific Islander communities, word of mouth plays very big in our communities. And so it's surprising because we didn't had enough time to do as much advertising, but just hearing from like students, I think one of our cohort students, like they heard it from their brothers or from their sisters. And so that's kind of like how it's been passed along. And that's kind of like how grassroots a lot of these ANAPISI programs are. And that's why we're very tied to our community when ANAPISI programs are coming to campus. And so I think just that visibility is coming there, and I'm hoping that the institution will start to recognize that there is a huge populations of Asian American and Pacific Islanders, not only in Washington State, but in this Tacoma area as well. And so hopefully with more visibility, with more connection with community, that they will want to bring those students here because they know, hey, there's support for people like me there, and then you should go here. So at least that's for me. Thank you, AJ. She was on the video.
Not a question, but simply an observation. Again, want to thank the students and everyone that was involved in developing the video. I think in many ways what it has demonstrated, as someone alluded to earlier, how Tacoma students are just really, really willing to be candid and frank about their experiences and to expose that there's a lot of work that needs to be done, but there's also been some progress, but that we really are leaning to the notion of folks belong, but also creating community. And because I work in student affairs, often I have the opportunity to interact with students, and so these conversations have happened in little bubbles, but now you've created the opportunity where it's not a bubble, right? The entire campus is galvanized. There are individuals who may not have been aware of the circumstances, situation impacts, the lonely only, the invisibility, what have you. But now we have that language, we're having conversations about it. So again, want to thank you for the courage, being vulnerable, and holding your institution accountable. Thank you.
All right, no further questions. Thank you so much for this opportunity to share our stories with you all, and we look forward to the next time. So yeah, I'll hand it back to Joe.
Let me just echo Mentha's point about just appreciating when people tell us when we're doing things not so well and give us an opportunity to improve. So I'm really proud of the work that you all are doing because I think it's going to change this institution and actually make us live up to those words, you belong here. And God, I guess I could give the gift of time, but then I was thinking about we've had some really good news with some grants, and I see Belinda over there. Maybe any announcements from the floor? This is always gets you in trouble because then people just stand up and say whatever's on their mind, but maybe some announcements from the floor. Sure. And then we will give you the gift of time.
Thank you, Chancellor. Just a reminder, an email went out last week. Tomorrow at 1 o'clock in this room, we have the fiscal year 26 budget planning kickoff meeting. So we will try to give folks a sense of general financial picture here at UWT and what's coming as we plan for next year's budget.
Thank you, that's a great reminder. Is our latest grant news, I'm looking for Amanda, is that public yet? We got the announcement last week about the grant, the new grants. Okay, oh, I know, darn. Stay tuned, good news is coming.
If I may do a shameless plug in the spirit of storytelling and connected to a recent grant I received earlier this year called Monument Regeneration, which is a Mellon Foundation initiative in continuing the work of storytelling and working with vulnerable populations. You will all be seeing invitations for a public exhibition that I've been able to mount collaboratively with one of our grassroots organizations here in Tacoma, about their unearthing their own stories about, especially in this particular moment, of migration and experience with detention as well. So just flagging that for all of you. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Sonia. That's a great example of just the kind of work our faculty are doing out in community that's connected to your research, but making a difference. So just so proud of that work, and thank you for that.
Well, I'll take the mic after all, just for a quick second, not on the grant, but two other things. One is I'd love to introduce a new colleague, Leigh Smith, who has joined us as Associate Vice Chancellor for Branding and Communications. So maybe stand up for a minute, give a little wave, yeah? So this is a new position that's funded by University Advancement that will help us really lean into finding our unique brand expression here for UW Tacoma, telling our story in a more robust way. So grateful to the marketing and communications team for all the outstanding work that's happened over the years, and excited to have Lace on board, who comes from PLU. And really understands higher education in a very deep way, as well as has centered equity and inclusion in the work of branding and communications in the past. So welcome, Lace. And then we do have some good news about a bequest that's setting up a new scholarship, and I'll ask Chad to actually speak to that. So I'll put you, hopefully that was enough time to give you a minute to organize your thoughts after I just said I'd hand this to you.
Thanks, Amanda. My name is Chad Brown, and I'm a relatively new staff member here. I'm the Associate Vice Chancellor for Development, and I joined UWT on July 1st. So it's great to see faces I know and faces that I don't know. I'm happy to announce that we just received word from the Will family to set up a new scholarship in the Milgard School of Business. It's an endowed scholarship called the Will Family Endowed Scholarship. The scholarship is funded through the estate of Muriel Will, who was a leader here in Tacoma for many years. She passed away, and she left a very generous donation to establish this endowed scholarship. You may recognize the Will family. They own a number of car dealerships here in the area, and they are community leaders and big supporters of this institution. So that's some good news for a Tuesday.
We love good news on a Tuesday. We do. Great. Mintha, did you have something? Okay. Maybe Tim.
More good news on a Tuesday. It is Food Truck Tuesday. Woo! So if you haven't had a chance to grab a bite to eat, or you want something to nibble on, take it back to your office, or if you're leaving campus, the Office of Student Affairs is partnered with the Washington Food Truck Association, and it's a pilot project. Basically, what we heard from students is that there was a need to have some quick, available food, accessible, low priced. So we rolled out, no pun intended, rolled out these food trucks with the idea of getting a sense of what the interest level might look like and whether or not the campus would want to sustain it. So there is a truck today, Lupia Love, again, very moderately priced. Please feel free to share feedback to the Division of Student Affairs as we think about whether or not to continue this project and actually formalize the relationship. Again, this is a stopgap effort because I'm hopeful that before I retire, long in the future, we will have a dining and residence hall facility. So this is just one kind of pathway to fill the gap in the meantime. So thank you all. And also want to give a shout out to Veterans Services for the support that they lended last week in terms of the flag campaign. You might have seen there were flags out along the Prairie Line Trail. They had their dinners supporting veterans across the region, and just a lot of really great stuff that's happening out of that unit. So thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, with that, we will give you all the gift of time. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the day.